Hey, good afternoon. Tom Stewart here. I am with Dan Smith, and this is Smart Business Buzz. How's everyone this afternoon?
I, for one, am happy to be here, Tom. I know that. I assume the others are well as they tune in.
I'm certain they are. It's a beautiful day. It's kind of warm and toasty out there. I don't know what's going on across the country, but we've been seeing three-digit temperatures here in Charleston the last
Oh,
couple of
wow.
days. And,
Wow. I imagine there's a dab of humidity in the mix. Is that a fair
it's,
statement?
it's, it's a little bit humid. Yeah, it's like getting hit in the face with a wet pillow, a hot steaming wet pillow.
Uh, well, I'll pass on that. We've got temperatures here, but a little more on the drier side, so it works well for me.
Okay. You know, big news in the financial markets today. The Jay Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, announced that they raised the overnight interest rate, what they call 75 basis points, 0.75%,
Three
something
quarters,
that
yeah.
they haven't done anything that drastic since 1994.
Yeah, I heard that just last night. Several talking heads, more than one, saying I can't possibly see them go up to 0.75. It's going to be a half a point. It's not likely. And then, sure enough, here we are.
And so what does that mean? It means a lot of things. It means that they're taking inflation more seriously, I guess. And that's good news. But it's gonna, theoretically slow the economy down, maybe put us into recession at some point. I don't know. There's a lot of people that thinks it will.
Yeah.
Um,
Talks about it being inevitable.
there are more and more companies, especially on the tech side, because tech's really getting hit hard right now. They're like laying people off. Companies that are in the business of brokering Bitcoin are
Yeah,
laying people
that's
off. Um,
that's big
so
news there for
there,
Coinbase.
there is some thinking that this will make unemployment go up, which could be helpful to those of us who are having a hard time finding people to work for us.
So, with you being in the industry as long as you have, what's your 90-second take on the roller coaster that we might have in store?
It's a good question. One thing I'm going to throw out there, and like a year ago when we were kind of wringing our hands over, do we want to take more idle loans and money from the SBA, and it's
Yeah.
like it's 3.25%. It's 3.2 or 3.75, maybe 3.75. I don't remember. Was a 30-year AM, and at
Hmm.
the time it was like, you know what, this is probably the cheapest money. A year or two from now, this is going to look like the cheapest money you're ever going to find in your lifetime. It looks like that we're heading in that direction.
Yeah.
And there's fixed income investments that you can take money and put it into where you can earn more interest than what you're paying on your idle funds. And that's right now. And those are going to continue to go up. And when I say fixed income, that means that there's very little risk of not getting your principal back. It's not like putting it into Bitcoin or something where
Yeah.
your money
Gamble.
disappears. They're safe investments. There's Olu, man. Hey, 100%. So um, if you're still sitting on that money, you're not sure what to do with it, you're still thinking maybe I should give it back, I would hold on to it a little bit longer. Because the other part of it is banks are going to start getting tighter because as interest rates goes up, especially if the economy slows down, the banks are less. I've seen this time and time again. The banks aren't really interested in loaning money if the economy is going bad to small businesses because small businesses tend to not pay the money back at a higher percentage than a lot of
Yeah.
other people. And
Yeah.
even though the
Probability.
interest rates are higher, if there's a risk that they're not going to get their principal back, they're not going to loan the money. So you might not even be able to borrow money from other traditional sources. Another reason to hold on to it.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, I have no experience long term in what this looks like, but I think the message is clear. This didn't necessarily happen overnight, and whatever is in store, whatever the recovery might look like, it's just not it's not an overnight fix. So it's slow to um, become more challenging. But then when good comes, it's going to be slow to return back to normal. We could be in store for a timeline greater than a few months, if you will, so to speak.
Well, I had a little windshield time this afternoon, so I was listening to Jerome Powell give, his, speak, after announcing the rate increase. And they're hoping that by the time they get to 2024, inflation will be down to 2%, which is kind of their target. That's what they want. But that's kind of
Right.
best case scenario. And they've been
Yeah.
hoping for a lot of things. A year ago they were saying the inflation is transitory. Don't worry, it'll go away as soon as we can start unloading cargo ships and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I wasn't buying it then, and I'm, personally, I'm not sure if I would buy it now. It can be a harder, longer slog in terms of where some of that's going.
Yeah, I would say in closing, those that had the fight, giving up is not an option mentality during the pandemic. Put that energy to good use, because those same people are going to push through this challenge as well, and we'll all come out better for it on the other side, as we've seen this go round, this pandemic, if you will.
Yeah, and the things that one other thought, then we're going to move on because this is important too. The things that have worked for us in terms of running our businesses and being making money and having money in the bank at the end of the month after doing everything you need to do to run your business. The things that have worked when prices were stable aren't necessarily going to work when prices are going up, costs are going up at the rate at which they're going.
Good point.
So don't just assume if I just keep doing what I've done in the past, it's going to continue to work for me. You have to watch your numbers closely. You have to look at your P&L. You have to look at your cost side. Your labor costs are going up. Your supplies are going up. Your transportation, everything's going up. So you could be doing all of the things that you used to do, that everything was fine, and one day you might find out that you're cleaning a bunch of homes and still don't have enough money in the bank to take care of what you need to do.
I'm glad you didn't let that get away, because change is necessary, no doubt. But mindset is key, and it's so easy in the moment of uncertainty, as we've seen in our industry, for people to make decisions that they just don't want to play the game. And the game's changing. I don't know what the answers are, but your point is very, very strong. The other side of that is, this isn't forever. And if we fight the fight, and make those decisions, collaborate with your community, we'll see the other side.
Oh yeah, my goodness. We started doing this, I guess it was about 2.5 years ago. We started doing this show right when COVID hit. And compared to COVID, this is, a walk in the park, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm used to paying more for nitro gloves. We'll get through this.
Yeah. What Owen's got here, he's got this is a great opportunity for those with cash, because although inflation is high, but things are selling at a discount. If I was a single man, I'd sell my home, move in with my parents, and scoop up cheap deals in the next few months. That is good advice. I mean, I don't know about moving in with your parents. I mean, there's, ups and downs with that. But again, if and I go back to the SBA money. If you've got SBA money that you've borrowed that you're wanting to pay back, I wouldn't do it right now. I'd hold on to that. That you might have some other uses for that. And I think that you're going to see more deals. I think if the economy really slows, several things are happening. The economy's going to be slowing down. There's a lot of consumer debt. There's more consumer debt out there right now than there ever has been. People are
rising it here. Yeah.
All of that's kind of leading up to, consumer debt's awesome as long as you've got extra room on your credit card. But when all that taps out, the next thing you know, you're not paying your bills, and the next thing you know, there's deals, be it real estate, be it what whatever, people need to start selling stuff in order to take care of the day-to-day things. So if you got some cash, like Olu's saying, that could be good.
Yeah, that is
What's Tom
wise.
got for us here? We're making some pivots right now and reviewing all the marketing channels to ensure we're getting the best bang for our buck. But we're now watching our P&L closer than ever. That's good.
Yeah,
That is advice.
proactive there, Dom. I like it.
You know, it's interesting. Based on what I'm seeing, and Dan, maybe you can tell me what you're seeing as well. Even with all the economic uncertainty and inflation, labor's been tight for a long time. But have you seen much diminution in demand for house cleaning services?
I honestly feel like there is a transition that is recent. I talk to a lot of cleaning companies. I work with a lot of people in the community, and what I've heard consistently for the last year is there's not enough people to meet the demand. And I'm sure in some markets that's the case. But I'm slowly starting to hear from people in Arizona, people in Washington, in my own experience, just a slight transition. I feel, from my perspective, pullback in some respects, and I'm not sure if that's just the ebb and flow of this week, last week, or if there's a change in play. But I've heard it from a couple business owners in several other states. So, what's your take on that?
I haven't seen it, but I would expect it. And a lot of it comes down to this consumer debt. Here's Dom. He's seeing some of the same thing. Anybody else out there, if you're seeing a drop off in business a little bit, hit us up, let us know, because that would be good to hear. I would expect it, because that whole credit going up, and you do that at the same time that it's hard to borrow money from banks. I remember back, like before the housing market crash, like in the 2000s, before the wheels fell off. There was a lot of demand, and a lot of it was being based on credit. But as long as everybody's home value kept going up, and as long as the banks were willing to refinance the second mortgage, where they could boot more money out of the house, pay down the credit card, and kind of reload, the train kept going. But when the house value, when they couldn't borrow money from the banks to pay off the credit card, things slowed down in a huge way. I don't know if it's going to be nearly as bad as that. I'm not anticipating, I'm certainly not predicting that, but I would think there would be a slowdown with the combination of interest rates and the debt going up.
Yeah, in my own experience and in the community network I'm with, I'm just starting to hear the onset of that. So, like Tom said, let us know. I'm curious how many other people are starting to feel that, or if we're still in the feasting stage. We'll see.
Here you go with Dom saying we got pushback and increase in cancellations the last 5 days, and Olu is 6 cancels this month, financially related. Yeah.
It's reaction meets headlines. I mean, we saw this on the COVID side, not to tie it back again, but I mean, the last week, the headlines have been more vocal on where we're going and the financial uncertainties. And there's a segment of the population that is going to be quick to react and knee jerk. No judgment there. So I'm not surprised, timing wise, to hear that now that's 6 different companies, including myself, that I would attribute within the last week to identifying or speaking to change.
But the opportunity in this is you should start getting a little more relief on the labor side. So, it's always a imbalance. You've got, more demand and you don't have enough supply, or vice versa. Well, supplies should improve. It should get a little bit easier for us to find the quality people we're looking for. So it's going to get back to, how do I find enough homes to clean? You either have too many homes to clean and not enough people to clean them, or too many cleaners and not enough homes to clean. So if it swings back the other way, then it gets into marketing and sales, right, Dan?
It does. Indeed. Having systems and processes, having everything in place to make sure that you're prepared for training the right people, growing them, that's all key. But at the end of the day, if we're in a market change where the phones are maybe not ringing as much, or we've got a segment of the population, not everyone, but a segment of the population that's going to peel back and kind of eliminate the luxury service, if you will, well, then it brings to the forefront the importance of every call and every lead, while always being important and monetarily a value that we can measure. It's even more important. The cost of that lead might be the same. It might fluctuate, but the fact is, you've got to make more. You got to make more out of what you have to work with in this environment.
The cost might be the same, but the value is more.
Yeah.
You prepared, I guess, a few slide decks, if you will, or so.
Yeah, for sure. I really, before bringing that up, Tom, I kind of want to explain really my kind of trajectory in the marketing and branding space, right? We're talking about sales and marketing. And I saw earlier in the month, Liz had made a really good comment. She said, branding, for some people, maybe doesn't translate beyond colors or pictures or, what the logo looks like. For other people, we understand that branding is an entire story. For me personally, I'll share with you that Homemade Better is the name of my cleaning company, and we started in 2016. At the very onset of Homemade Better, I was coming out of the professional space, and all I knew was professional corporate America. Professional is a loose term. It can be defined a number of ways, but in my mind, I was coming from big business. And when putting together a residential cleaning company and having that 22, 23-year background, that is what I applied to the cleaning company. So my original website just spoke to how professional we are and really dug into the corporate look and feel. And I'll share very, I'll be vulnerable here. I went through a whole phase where people in the community, different contacts, I would reach out to asking for help. Like, how do I get to where you are? How do I grow my company? How do I find the success that you have seen? And early on, the feedback that I got was typically shrouded in, Dan, you're too stuffy. Your website's too corporate. Your message is not what we traditionally see in our industry. At the time, I couldn't articulate what I can now. And if there's one thing that is for certain, I don't want this message to be lost. That is, there's a number of ways to win. There's an endless number of ways to be successful. Your market may be different, your messaging, your audience. So the way that I'm doing things does not imply the best way. But that being,
when you talk about branding,
yeah,
I relate to that as flavors of ice cream.
sure.
And you can debate, what's the best flavor ice cream? And we all might have a favorite, but our favorite might all be different. And it doesn't mean that one's really better than the other. It's a matter of preference. And I would argue branding is the same way. If somebody told you your branding was too corporate, it was too stuffy, well, there's a segment of the market that might not like that. There's another segment of the market that might prefer that over other alternatives that are out there. And if everybody's kind of doing the light thing with like bubbles and so on and so forth, and then all of a sudden, bam, you hit them with something more corporate. There's probably some people in the market that go, wow, that's awesome. Finally, somebody who's bringing a Maid service that I can relate to.
Yeah, for certain. I feel like that was part of our evolution of growth. It was the initial hump of trying to get over who we are and proof of concept for certain. But then we arrived at a point where we were attracting a different audience. And when I look in my market space, it's very common to see the traditional design and approach that you see all throughout the country. And to your point, There's no bad ice cream. I'll attest to that. But that being
Some
said,
is better than others.
that's true. That's true. There was nothing in my market that looked like my company. So my calls were different, but I struggled to grow. And the feedback I got was, "You're just not marketing right." But I stayed true to that mission, and stumbled across identifying a brand script, creating a story for who we are and how we go to market. And we've all heard the importance of making sure that you identify your avatar and identify your value proposition. But for me, it was a journey of identifying, how do I position our company as a premium offering in the marketplace, so that my phone's ringing with people who have already made a decision for the most part. And on the flip side to that, my phone is not ringing by those that are looking for an $89 cleaning. So there's pros and cons to both, for sure. Let me share, if I can, Tom. I'll share an example, kind of in brief, of some marketing commonalities, kind of what our go-to-market strategy looks like, just in brief. And then I want to bring up a marketing maturity model. I want to really offer a good takeaway today, and explain my evolution in realizing where to put time and energy. So
Sure.
may I go ahead and share the screen here?
If you look down at the bottom, just click on the share option and pick which screen you want to share.
All right, let me make this happen. All right. Do we see the PDF there?
We do.
Okay, very good. So in brief, this is neither right nor wrong. This is Dan's perspective. And when I entered into the marketplace, this was very common. This was I don't know how many websites that lady works for a lot of companies. I'll tell you that much. And ultimately, the bucket with nondescript cleaning solutions, and we kind of go on, and that's pretty common.
So this
And
is interesting. Your examples, I mean, you've got the pictures we've all seen, and you've got the titles we've all seen, and all of the copy is just warm ipsum. So I guess in reality, it might as well be, because nobody's going to read it anyway, right?
Yes, if I'm a consumer looking to buy and I'm receiving the same general cartoon character, again, I say that at risk of getting thumped on the head by some really good friends in the community, or you see the same, two women that we see in so many marketing messages. For me, Tom, it was an intentional act in, I'm going to go to market differently. I'm going to go to market differently. Here's an example, just in brief, without going overboard, on part of our brand scripting process for Homemade Better was determining what is our look, what is our feel. And this particular slide preview kind of brings to highlight the goal for Homemade Better is to elevate an offering that is premium in nature. It's trustworthy, it's warm, it's welcoming, it's friendly. But more importantly, it's not a bucket, and it's not bubbles, and it's not people cleaning. It's emotion. It is, reaction, and it's hitting people in an area that isn't particularly common in our environment. And you can see that on my website. You can see that in our Facebook ads. This accumulation of pictures and imagery really speaks to what we're shooting for. Tell me, how does that resonate with you in terms of just your first time seeing that, Tom?
It invokes emotion. It you're not just looking at something, you're feeling something. And I,
Yeah.
I, I get how this works.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Now that didn't come about overnight. By no stretch of the imagination. I went through the struggles, and there's so many people in the community. I can't tell you how many times I've said this out loud endlessly, and that is, I think the reason why we grew as fast as we did in under 5 years had everything to do with my knocking on doors that I was never invited, my asking for time for people who didn't know who I was. I was looking, I was watching, and learning, and I attribute, the learning, the growth to the help of others. So my hope here is with the next couple slides. I don't want to bore you with a slide deck, but the next couple slides here, I really want to tie together um, my pivotal moment in realizing how I can better approach sales and marketing to grow our company in a more effective manner. So looking at the marketing ecosystem here, certainly
Well,
not going to.
define marketing ecosystem before we jump into this. I mean, that's kind of an interesting term. We talk about marketing, we talk about sales, we talk about all the different ways that we market and content, yada, yada, yada. Explain ecosystem.
Yeah, so there is a existence of all the things that we know we need to do. And depending on who you are and how far you are along in your business acumen or your small business experience or your own cleaning company, for example, your Tom, your list of the top 10 things that you need to do to be successful in your cleaning company, well, they might differ from mine because you've been doing it for 30 years and you know what works and you know what doesn't. Whereas somebody who's just starting in the industry, their thought is, I have to have Google Ads, and I have to have an automated texting campaign. The ecosystem is all things that are relative to marketing, relative to growing sales, creating a brand, if you will, and how do you go to market doing that, and more importantly, where, especially when we talk about the financial, forefront, where should we be putting our money? There's so many options out there, and how do you make that happen?
Okay.
As we move along the slide here, this is certainly maybe worth screen capture for some people. I know for me, I can tell you about a time where I thought I knew all the things I needed to do. I have to get a website, and I have to get an SEO guy or gal, and I need someone to run my ads, and I'll farm all of that out. And I'll be good to go. But no one told me that there's 58 other things that I can be doing that might cost less money or might be more effective. It just simply wasn't something that I knew. All I knew is I needed to make the phone ring more. And for some of us, myself included, I tapped out at, okay, Google, Facebook, Yelp, Home Advisor. We're talking circa 2016. Well, gosh, I've covered it all. I'm spending money and the phones are not ringing as much as I need them to be. How do I grow? And candidly, I didn't know this list existed. I didn't know what else was out there. There's a lot to take on, and it doesn't happen overnight.
So if I want to generate the quantity of leads that I need to generate in order to grow my house cleaning business, do I need to do all of these things?
It is not necessarily a matter of requirement. It's not a matter of what that you need to check all these boxes. I think more importantly, and really that leads me to the next slide. I don't know if you were queuing me up there. I know you haven't seen this, but that really breaks into what is seen here as the marketing maturity model. Now, this is not something that I want to take credit for. This is not my design. This is not my brain. But in the process of my redefining our brand and really, I mean, we redid our website. We really redid our logo. We did a full release within our market and introduced the new Homemade Better. And upon doing that, we saw tremendous growth month over month. And I attribute a lot of that to just a different brand, a different image, and a different strategy. So what we're looking at here, the marketing maturity model, again, this is screenshot worthy for some people. It really helped visually compartmentalize for me what I need to work on today, what I need to get in order and build upon to strengthen my foundation before the next level, to make sure I've got everything in order before going to the next level. And I can tell you my experience. I can't speak for others. It was very much an evolution of, I know I need to have a website. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to check this box on a website. And I saw somebody online mention that they run Google Ads. So I need to come over here and I need to find where where my paid social ads are. And as I'm trying to go along and grow and learn, I'm told by other people in the industry, you've got to upsell, right? You've got to make a close, and then you've got to have options to upsell. That's how you're going to get more revenue. And okay, I'm going to come over here to this box and I'm going to check this off. And you get the idea. There's so many things to choose from, but more often than not, I would venture to guess, if anyone is like me, I'm randomly checking these boxes and hoping for the best. And that's due in part because I might only know of 18 of these boxes even existing, but nobody sat me down and said, "Hey, Dan, all these build upon each other," and that would have been very valuable early on, I would say.
So, what was the origin of this particular grid that we're looking at? Was this something that I guess initially you were maybe building in? I mean, did you develop this over time?
No, this is not my my content. So I want to
Okay,
be
so you started.
transparent there.
Okay, so you're borrowing this from somewhere else. I call this best practices. Or
it,
in
it,
college,
it,
major
it,
business is best practice. So
yeah,
we're looking at best practices here.
we are. Let me share how I acquired it, though. That's, I think, the important part. The way that this was acquired was through the process that took several months in defining our brand script, defining our voice. It was in the midst of we're going to create a new website, we're going to create a new logo, we're going to create a new marketing strategy, and we're going to reposition ourselves in the market, kind of next level. And this is I would say smack in the middle of the pandemic, the initial phase, if you will. And so I invested time and money in finding, a trusted partner to go through the process. And I didn't do it on my own. I mean, there's just cause to reach out to the right partner to help move you along a lot faster than, struggling for 2.5 years as I did. And in the process of developing who we are, what our voice is, our go-to mission strategy, all on paper, all very intentional, all with research and design and intelligence. We ended up with the outline, the framework for, now this is the website we need. And this is what we want that website to say. And this is what we want that website to look like. And in the midst of that process, I was introduced to the maturity model. And as I mentioned earlier, visually, it was this awakening. Oh my gosh, if I can spend time and energy in this light baby blue color, building the foundation for Homemade Better. If I could not spend time, money, and energy over here that doesn't help me tie things together. Let's get a strong foundation. And I put a lot of focus and energy into that. And then I think the chart is pretty self-explanatory, but there's the next evolution, and that is, growing. So you've got the foundation in place, and now you're focused on growing with the different strategic initiatives there. And then if and when the time is right, there's the option to take that even further, and that's in the Ignite category. So I felt it very prudent to share this today, because I can't sit here and say, you just need to make your website look better than everyone else. You just have to, disregard the naysayers and do what your heart tells you. It's been an evolution for me, Tom, and this has been part of the process.
I'm looking at this model here, and under the build part, I'm trying to figure out, you mentioned like the new logo and so on and so forth, the new website. Is that represented in one of these light blue boxes here?
Yeah, so I think the marketing website is the foundation of your online presence, and this speaks to making sure that you've got the appropriate boxes in place to have an effective website. Do you have trust elements? Is it mobile friendly? That initial foundation for us, I mean, that highlights 2016 to 2020. I mean, we had a website that I created on WordPress with a $450 template. I'm not a website developer, but it was good enough to get me going. And that checked the box here. Whereas you can see ideal client, brand script, that was at a later stage. That was not something that was effective for me to do 3 months into the industry, when I was still trying to figure out what cleaning products to use, to be humble, to be candid.
When you're starting out, you do what you can do with what it is you have. But I'm also hearing at some point you reached out to, a professional who has, I guess, presented this model to you as part and parcel of that. So is part of the takeaway maybe that we should be getting here is, when you get to the point where you don't have to do this by yourself, don't do it by yourself.
Yeah, and that can be said in a number of ways, right? Your time is finite, your time is valuable, and at the end of the day, there's value in making sure that you're focusing on the 20% that is going to move your business in the right direction, and allowing your team to handle the 80%. And that is a place that I've been able to arrive to, but goodness, not without pain, not without falling back 3 steps every 4 steps taken, to be candid. And my message is not, I've made it in any respect. But yes, reaching a point where you're able to hand that off. I don't remember who the talking head is, but there's I'm probably going to do this a disjustice, but the point still stands. There's a talking head I heard say, the recipe for success, I'm paraphrasing, but the goal of an entrepreneur is to work as hard as you can, as fast as you can. No. To work as hard as you can, to grow as fast as you can before you burn out. Yeah. And when I heard that, it was a pivotal moment that I never forgot. Work as hard as I can to grow as fast as I can before I burn out, and being able to hand that off to trusted team members and make sure that, I'm not ready to throw in the towel because I've been in the business for 15 years and I'm still struggling to get it going. That's been part of my drive, if you will.
Yeah. Starting out, we're all in a race against burnout. Can you get to where you need to go before you burn out? And
yeah, for certain. I'd be happy to make this available. This slide deck, there's a few more pages here that are of value, I believe. If anyone is interested, we can certainly have them, you jump on my website and get that.
Sure. We'll share your website and how people can hit you up to get a copy of this. That would be awesome if you want to share. I'm sure a lot of people would would appreciate this. So
Yeah.
back to that marketing maturity model. You want to throw that back up there again?
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
I think that's pretty insightful. Could you argue that, I guess there's a couple of things. You basically built your own website and you did a lot of do it yourself stuff initially, but the idea was, and if I'm getting this wrong, tell me, but it sounds like the idea was to get as big as you can, as quickly as you can, so that you can then invest in, outside talent to implement aspects of what we're looking at here that, you didn't have the tool set to do, or maybe you couldn't do it as good as they could. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. And there's a couple different factors that come into play. I mean, expense is one of them. I mean, we're all limited by, our operational budget and wanting to do things wise. But at the same time, there's a risk element. There's a risk, and I would argue there is different varying degrees of those that embrace change. I cannot, and I am not standing on any pedestal of success. But there are people that I've spoken to in the industry, in life, outside of the industry, that really want things to be different, whatever that might be. But they're resistant to change, or they're resistant to outsourcing. They're resistant to getting help. For me in particular, I've got trusted resources on the marketing side, on the SEO side. I'm a person of technical acumen. I've got technical aptitude, and I know my limits. I mean, there is a place for me to put my time and energy, and it's not trying to figure out how to run Google Ads. I probably could, but that's not where my time is best spent. So yeah, I would argue that that's been part of what has helped me move along. And I don't think I'm alone in that capacity. I think that's a recipe that's seen with a number of businesses that we all look up to.
It's interesting though, because if you think about where this was, you talked about, the number of years I've been doing this, this would have looked a whole lot different, say 20 some odd years ago. It was, the internet really wasn't much of a factor in the marketing mix or anything digital. So it was all pretty much analog. You know, Running a big Yellow Pages ad accounted for more than 50% of the leads that most companies were getting at that point. So
Sure.
it was simple. It was just really, you stroke to check and you just kind of let the thing go. But now it's more, you got to hire talent, but it's a lot more complicated. It's a long, thin tail of things that you have to do. There's not just one or two things. And this is insightful. And I guess takeaways for myself is, that whole race against burnout. Work as hard as you can to grow as fast as you can, and then take what you're building and invest in the tools and technology and the talent to do the marketing. There's a whole nother dimension of this, the sales part of it. What do you do with those valuable leads you're getting? We probably need to save that for another discussion.
Sure.
But this is good. So you got this from a firm that you worked with?
I did, yeah. And my reason for sharing that today has everything to do with this being an epiphany for me. And in my own experience, I can't speak for others. I would follow early on what I heard or read was working for someone else. And I would encourage anyone that's watching the show today to realize, if not already known, the discovery that I had, and that is when I see something that is working for somebody and I am destined to copy that, and then feel disappointed because it's not working for me, I'm failing at the time to realize that I'm just seeing that surface existence, right? What all of the sudden a person in the industry is touting that they have great success with this marketing channel or this marketing method. And early on before this evolution or discovery here, I'm chasing to figure out how to crack the nut. But failing to realize that component works well for that business because there's 12 other pieces behind the scenes that I'm not aware of that all tie together. And this really here is a transitional piece for me to understand that there's more to the story and there's building blocks for getting there. And it didn't happen overnight for me. It may not happen overnight for other people. Every market is different. Everybody's skill is different. But I really wanted to share this because it was an awakening for me as I kind of evolved from my own homebrew, do it myself, wear all the hats to, okay, now it's time to step up our game and take a risk, spend some money, and believe in believe in there being, the destiny of success. We just have to put in the work to get there.
So as far as a takeaway for our audience, is that what you're telling us, that you need to get to the point where you have the opportunity to pursue something like this? And
there's the takeaway is twofold, Tom. Yes, ideally getting to a point in which you're not wearing all hats is, I would argue, the fundamental benefit for being an entrepreneur, right? We're after time, and we're after money. We need the money to pay the bills. We need the money to achieve whatever our requirements in life are. But ultimately, the win is time. I'm still growing. I'm not there yet, but the ability to make the play at school, the ability to take my daughters to the dentist on the fly, the ability to decide that we're going to take off early for the holiday 2 days earlier, a week earlier than anyone else. That prize of time is not because I have a great cleaning methodology. It's not because we use fantastic cleaning supplies, but every bit about creating the right processes and building the right team, building the right foundation so that we have a presence in our market that establishes a trustworthy brand that is effective in marketing, so that we can get the opportunity to close those sales. When that engine is working as it should, among other things, I'm not simplifying it in any respect, internal SOPs, so on and so forth. The prize in our space is the entrepreneurial freedom. And I didn't have that for the longest time. Some people don't have that today. And the final takeaway there is, you can get there faster. You can get there faster with the right partner, with the right guidance, and willing to take that leap of faith outside of status quo.
Work hard, make money, be willing to trade that money for time, which is another way of saying it is you're basically hiring other people or investing in technology, whatever the case might be, to take stuff off your to-do list where you've got more time to spend it more wisely, more beneficial, more productively in your business or in your family or outside interests.
Yeah, good close, because time looks different for everybody. Time might be the ability to create another business, whereas for someone else, time might be sitting at the lake. So you're right. But yes, that's wildly important in my perspective. In sales and marketing, effectively will get you there. It can get you there. It's the catalyst.
So we've got a couple of comments that popped up. Robin's just kind of chiming in on what Dom and Olu were sharing, that things are slowing down a little bit. Something to be keeping an eye on in the weeks ahead. All making our whole marketing discussion, all that more important. Rob's got a question for you, Dan. He
Yeah.
wants to know, do you use videos in your website and social media? If so, what return would you expect by incorporating video, either produced or do-it-yourself videos, into the marketing strategy?
Yeah. Early on, before the current website that I have now, I was partnered with a local firm in town that handled our video, and they created video Facebook ads. They did, I mean, this is early on, again, kind of right at, as soon as I possibly could, I was looking to partner with those that could help me get farther, faster. To answer Robin's question, I do not have any website videos in place today. And the reason for that is I just haven't taken the investment to do so at the level of quality that I want to continue with. Now, I would venture to say that depending on where you are in the evolution of your business or growth, there are some people that would argue some video is better than no video. And there are those in the SEO space that would argue Google doesn't care whether it's on an iPhone or a $6,000 camera. It is a matter of, does your website have video? So there's great value in that. Robin, mine does not today, but the holdup there is just me wanting to make sure that when I get to that stage, it's at the level and caliber that is in a line with our brand altogether.
So the whole saying, done's better than perfect, maybe that's true, but done's not necessarily good relative to something that's bad.
Sure. Or in my case, directly customer facing, for sure.
Yeah. So if you have the skill set, I guess, to do it yourself, that's awesome. I don't know. I've seen, and would you argue that part of that's your brand as well? Some companies have a brand that's more kind of do it yourself, and if it's like too slick, it's almost going against the brand.
It is. Specifically, there's a gentleman that comes to mind in Texas who was adamant that the business has to be about your kids and your wife, and you have to showcase that you're a family and you're local in the community. And at the time, I didn't want to do that, and I didn't see the value in that. In hindsight, that has worked extremely well for this individual. I mean, he's built a small empire on capitalizing on his family and his kids. And I look at that now and I think, well, I'll be darned, he wasn't wrong. Arguably, neither was I. But at the time, I couldn't comprehend that. And he couldn't comprehend, my go-to-market strategy. And years later, we're both in a place that we're grateful for.
More than one way to bake a cake.
For sure. Yeah. And ultimately at the end of the day, more than one way to bake a cake, and an endless number of talent opportunities out there to get you to where you need to be faster. And it looks like you're going somewhere with that.
No, we're getting up to the top of the hour, so I wanted to make sure that everyone knows a little bit about Dan Smith. And you're talking a lot about your cleaning company, and you've had a lot of success with that. You've learned a few things over the years doing that as well. Some of that you've shared with us. Some of what you've learned, and arguably things you've learned outside of your cleaning company as well. You're kind of rolling up into another business venture that you have. I just shared the link in chat. You want to take a moment and tell us a little bit about Business Made Better?
Yeah, for certain. Business Made Better was initially born out of the necessity for technical assistance, technical aptitude, and to be to the point. I had a person directly ask me at an industry event if I would help them configure and get through the onboarding phase of Maid Central. This was really ground zero. And I said to that person, yeah, I'd be happy to do that. They asked if they could pay me, and if I have to take your money, I would love to. All kidding aside, the person to my left, same event, said, wait a minute, hold on. Could I pay you? And that was really the birth of Business Made Better. It was really on the consulting side and helping. So I have worked with a fair number of customers and clients, if you will, helping in a number of ways. Primarily surrounded around Maid Central. The next evolution, if you will, was what you see on screen now, and that was the creation of premium campaigns and automations within Maid Central. And to be transparent, what you see, the offer that is available through businessmadebetter.com is specific to Maid Central at this time. That is likely to change in the future, but today it's available and specific for Maid Central clients. I'll close with this. The umbrella that is Business Made Better is changing, and it's growing. And one of the really strong value propositions that I've been able to uncover, my quick claim to fame, is we're in an environment where there's all these technical elements that people have in place to run their business. And not all of those elements talk to each other. Not all of those vendors talk to each other. And not every business owner understands what they need to do or they need to do it. So I'm in this continual growth and scale of Business Made Better in what ultimately is becoming a technology translator, being able to take my technology background of 23 years in corporate enterprise America, being able to learn what I apply what I've learned in the residential home services space, growing my cleaning company to what it is, and then adding the value that I am to just an ever increasing number of clients that I'm partnered with. That's where we are today. I can't make big promises because, as we all know, execution is key. But there's two different recipes that are in the oven and one on the back shelf. So stay tuned. We've got other things in motion.
I think it's safe to say, and it's obvious. I think it's obvious to everybody that technology is changing how our industry operates, and what we see today is going to be different, in the months and years ahead. And it's going to be becoming more complicated. It's going to be more technology driven in the future, even than it is now. And
Sure.
I love the term technology translator. Is that what I think I heard you say?
It is indeed, yeah.
So, somebody that can help, that knows how to run a house cleaning business, that understands the technology, that can kind of bring those two together. There's going to be a tremendous amount of value to that. And you're doing good work, Dan. You're doing important work. You're doing important work.
I appreciate that. I would say the email templates for Maid Central, we'll call that my opening act. What is ever increasingly becoming more evident is the technical application of, help my business achieve this, or how do I do that? And I'm excited. I'm enjoying it, and it's of course going to be something I need to learn to scale as I did the house cleaning company. So I'm excited for what the ride looks like. I appreciate the opportunity.
But if anybody wants to get a hold of you, they can go to businessmadebetter.com. There's a contact form. I understand if anybody wants the slide and there's more. You got a bigger deck that you're working from. You'd be able to share that if they just reach out.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to hit the contact page in the upper right-hand corner, fill in your information. I'd be happy to share that. If you are looking specifically for the sales and marketing maturity model slide deck, please let me know. I'll fire that off. If you have any other ideas in mind, I'm always happy to jump on a discovery call and see what you have in mind.
Awesome. Dan, as always, you're an awesome guy and certainly an awesome guest. Much appreciate you sharing with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
We're pretty much wrapped up for today, but we're going to be back next Wednesday, 5 o'clock Eastern. So see you here next week. Y'all take care.
Thank you, Tom. Bye, everyone.